Hello everyone, my name is Tony Nguyen, and this is my Module 4 project. So let's get started. So the two works of literature that I've chosen to talk about in my Module 4 project is The Importance of Being Earnest, this was from Module 4, and Brave New World, and this was back from Module 1. And I think these works are similar because they share a overall theme of love and romance and how the people in the books feel about love and romance, and that's what I'm going to discuss today. So, in The Importance of Being Earnest, marriage is either pleasurable or a restrictive social duty. That's what the book talks about. The older generation feels that it is a social duty that you must marry someone in your social class. You cannot marry based on love. But the younger generation feels that marriage should be based on love, that you shouldn't marry someone unless you truly want to spend the rest of your life with them. But the ironic thing is that although the younger generation feels that, they are too scared to break the rules and eventually still only marry people in their social class. This is very different from Brave New World, where love is non existent. In this novel, sex is demanded and it's an instant pleasure. It's no longer about love, it's mostly about distraction and about pleasure. Um, the people in this novel have sex many times a day, often as young children. Sex is no longer a symbol of love. It is a it is just a task to do in life to get pleasure and to be distracted. So these two novels have very different views about love. In The Importance of Being Earnest, it's more of a social duty where it's non-existent in the Brave New World, and symbols of love are just used for pleasure. So let's go through some quotes from both these novels to show you what I'm talking about in the shared themes. So let's start with The Importance of Being Earnest. This first quote is dialogue between Jack and Algernon. In this quote, Algernon seems to think that proposal and marriage are items of business and not pleasure. He thinks of marriage as a social obligation he must fulfill in order to maintain a respectable name. Jack, on the other hand, has a much more positive view of marriage because he's also met the love of his life, and he seems to regard marriage as romantic. So, this is what I was talking about, the overall theme of the novel. In this next quote, it is dialogue between Algernon and Lane. So the question here is whether marriage or not is demoralizing. And this is another one of the main questions that keeps popping up throughout the play. Lane does not think marriage is demoralizing, but Lane's opinions are also not taken very seriously because Lane's marriage did not end, did not succeed. So, another main question in this novel is whether you should be happy in marriage, and that is explored in the text. So, in this third quote, it is dialogue from Algernon. To Algernon, a key ingredient in love is uncertainty, and this is why he considers a marriage proposal business instead of pleasure, because you cannot have uncertainty in business, but pleasure is always very uncertain. And this fourth quote is dialogue from Gwen. So in this quote, it shows that Gwendolyn's love is conditional and it's based on something silly as her lover's name. She makes it clear here that if the name were not Ernest, she could never love Jack. And this shows that she might be mixing up real love, which is often messy, with the idealistic romance of books and pop culture. So I believe these four quotes showed you how love is a major theme and the importance of being earnest. So now let's go to Brave New World. So in this first quote, it describes a scene where children are having sex in elementary school. And this scene it can be very disturbing to people because children in our society are not meant to have sex. That is meant for adulthood. So it shows you how in this society that children are raised as very young to learn how to have sex. Um, and the next quote, it describes a situation where Henry and Fiona have Henry and Fiona take some soma, which is also a drug, and they prepare to have sex. So this quote shows that sex happens all the time in the world state. It prevents solitude, and we see with Lenina and Foster, downtime is far less likely to lead to something dangerous, like independent thought. It's supposed to foster sex. So, in this third quote, it describes an orgy that occurs in the novel. And in this quote, it shows that there's an important connection between music and sex. And red is an important color here. When Foster declares that embryos, like photographic film, can only stand red light, it's no coincidence that these two scenes are related. The copulating adults are compared to little embryos inside their bottles. And then in this fourth quote, it basically shows that the civilization in Brave New World has chosen machinery, medicine, and happiness over love. Basically, pleasure is the factor in life. It is no longer love. And that is how this novel uses love and pleasure and sex as a main theme. So now let's move on to the historical criticism. I did choose to use historical criticism to describe the importance of being earnest. Now, this article is a biography about Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was the author of The Importance of Being Earnest, and he was famously arrested in Great Britain for being gay, for having sexual relations with a man. Back then, having sex with a man was considered illegal. So he was arrested and spent considerable time in jail at a work camp, and this has been proven to have a very detrimental effect on his life. And it shows, I believe this article shows Wilde's, because Wilde was abused and not accepted by his community. He had a very negative view of love, and this shows why he wrote The Importance of Being Earnest, with love not really a factor in the book. So let's talk about some quotes from this article. So the first quote, it says that Oscar Wilde was once jailed for engaging in what he called the love that dared not speak its name. So it shows that he was jailed in the 19th century, where it was not accepted at the time. In this next quote, it shows how not acceptable homosexuality was in the Victorian era. It says the repression of the Victorian past. So this shows that Wilde probably faced much discrimination in his quest for love. And in this third quote, it shows that Oscar was a popular homophobic epithet in England's working class neighborhoods. So it shows that people did not have a favorable opinion of him, that they used his name as something, as like a nickname, which was not positive. And these three quotes show how Oscar's life, how he had a negative view of romance and love, and this explains why he gave love such a negative portrayal in The Importance of Being Earnest. And to wrap this presentation up, I did choose a song that relates to both the works, and this song is You Belong With Me by Taylor Swift. And in this song, Swift talks about love and dedication and happiness, and how you are meant to be with someone and love is true. So I think this counters both novels. Love is not meant to be a societal obligation. You're not meant to marry someone in your social class. You can love anyone. And you are supposed to engage with the person you have sex with, not just have sex with them. Sex is supposed to be a act of love. And when you have sex constantly, it is just a meaningless task. So I believe this song wraps up this presentation, and I thank you so much for listening.